Hey, bear with me, because tonight we're diving into the exciting world of international agreements. Don't worry, it's not as boring as it sounds. Basically, countries make deals all the time, some fancy, some not. Treaties, they're the big kahunas, legally binding contracts between nations. Think of them as the Beyoncé of international agreements. Everyone knows them, everyone respects them. They go through this whole song and dance, negotiation, ratification, the whole shebang. Then there are Memorandums of Understanding, MOUs. Think of them like that friend who's always down for a good time but disappears when things get real. They're less formal, not legally binding, kind of like a we'll figure it out later kind of deal. But here's the thing, whether it's a legally binding treaty or a pinky promise MOU, these agreements are supposed to be the bedrock of international relations. They're meant to prevent conflicts, promote cooperation, all that jazz. But as we'll see, sometimes these agreements are about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Let's talk about the Budapest Memorandum, shall we? In 1994, Ukraine, fresh out of the Soviet Union, had a bunch of nuclear weapons just lying around. The US, Russia and the UK, being the responsible world powers they are, convinced Ukraine to give them up. In exchange, they promised to respect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Sounds like a sweet deal, right? Well, fast forward to 2014, and what do you know? Russia invades Crimea, a Ukrainian territory. See, the Budapest Memorandum, while signed and delivered, wasn't a full-blown treaty. It was more like a strongly worded letter of intent. And as we've learned from countless breakups and business deals gone wrong, intentions are about as useful as a chocolate teapot when someone's dead set on screwing you over. So, while the West huffed and puffed about sanctions, Russia basically took its ball, or in this case, Crimea, and went home. Let's rewind the clock a bit further, shall we? The history of treaties between the US government and Native American nations is a masterclass in bad faith and broken promises. Over centuries, hundreds of treaties were signed, often under duress, with the US promising land, resources and autonomy to Native American tribes. And how did the US government, known for its unwavering commitment to honesty and integrity, honor these agreements? Spoiler alert, they didn't. Time and again, the US government reneged on its promises, forcibly removing tribes from their ancestral lands, stripping them of their resources and decimating their populations. These weren't just broken promises. They were deliberate acts of betrayal, a systematic erosion of trust that continues to this day. So what's the point of all these agreements if they can be broken so easily? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sad truth is, in the international arena, enforcement often comes down to who has the bigger stick. When powerful nations decide to ignore their commitments, there's often little that smaller nations can do about it. International courts and tribunals can issue rulings, but they often lack the teeth to enforce them. So where does that leave us? Are international agreements destined to be nothing more than empty gestures, fancy pieces of paper with no real weight? Look, I'm not saying we should just chuck the whole system out the window, but we need to be honest about its limitations and find ways to make it work better. Maybe that means stronger enforcement mechanisms, maybe it means holding powerful nations accountable for their actions, or maybe it means rethinking the whole damn thing. Whatever the solution, it's clear that the current system is broken and it's high time we fix it.